J.B. Pritzker in the state of Illinois has made a plan to essentially have 1 million electric vehicles on Illinois roadways by 2030. How are we doing towards that goal? There have been tax incentives in the thousands of dollars for people looking to get certain types of electric vehicles. And the governor yesterday going to an EV manufacturer, to a institute of sorts, a training academy. And the governor taking some questions about EVs, electric vehicles, and the ultimate, need for them. Are consumers actually going out and buying these? You've had several in the industry say that the signs aren't looking good for the EV marketplace, and even some manufacturers dropping the price to make them more attractive. So despite there being incentives for these things, it doesn't seem to be much of an uptake for electric vehicles. And even in Rivian, which is in Illinois, they've got a manufacturing facility where they even got some tax credits from the state of Illinois. They announced layoffs because they didn't meet their projections in sales. But Governor J.B. Pritzker in Normal, close to that Rivian plant, going to a community college where they have an EV training academy that they cut the ribbon on yesterday. So here's the governor taking some questions about the EV situation in Illinois and beyond.
So there's a huge need for people who are expert at every aspect of electric vehicles, because the number of electric vehicles that will go on the road, even in addition to the fossil fuel vehicles that are on the road, will demand that we produce a workforce that can be part of that. You know that there's a Stellantis electric vehicle plant that's going to be built and replacing the old ICE vehicles at Belvedere, as well as battery manufacturing there. Rivian, of course, is a great job creator here. Electric vehicles are going to be a commonplace, and we're going to be at the head of the line here in Illinois for the workforce that's available for companies that need not only the electric vehicles, but also the parts, the suppliers that those electric vehicle manufacturers need. So, there's going to be an ebb and flow like there always is in the auto industry of demand for vehicles, but there's high demand and continues to be for electric vehicles in general.
So I think one thing he says there is interesting about making sure the workforce is there. And I've heard this from auto mechanics here in Illinois, just about, somebody brings in a vehicle and it's got all these computer systems in it, and the typical internal combustion engine mechanic doesn't necessarily have the skill sets to deal with all of those things. So clearly there is a need for some technicians, and that's what this community college is doing with their electric vehicle, training academy. Interesting response to the question of, the EV marketplace isn't as robust as maybe people had thought. But the governor obviously, being able to address that question and as far as how they are moving forward with this particular issue. Let me see here if this next question is on point.
Yes.
Do you think that Illinois should adopt zero?
Yes, so this is the question about whether or not the state of Illinois should adopt California emission standards. So this is a bill that's been proposed to the Illinois State House, and it would say that Illinois would essentially hand the keys of emission standards to the state of California. So anytime California changed their emission standards, Illinois would automatically update that for Illinois. Kind of begs the question, if that's the case, and why even have an independent state like Illinois with their own decision-making process? But either way, this measure has not moved. There's a similar measure that's filed in the Illinois Senate as the Illinois House bill. The Illinois House bill has around 5,000 people opposed to it, with, I want to say, probably, 500 or maybe 600 proponents for it. But Governor J.B. Pritzker being asked about this, and he doesn't seem like a fan.
Standards as other states like California have done?
So we want to work our way, obviously, toward having zero emission vehicles on the road. That's why we've provided some incentives for people who want to go out and on their own make that decision. I personally think now is not the right time for us to do that. Having said that, that's ultimately the goal. So the question is, it's not so much joining another state in their standard, it's just a question of, we ultimately need to replace fossil fuel emitting vehicles in this country. And so we want to be a part of that in the state of Illinois. And again, we've created incentives rather than, sort of carrots rather than sticks to move people in the right direction.
So the governor clearly has his idea of how to move into getting rid of fossil fuel vehicles, which I don't know if they're, can we make them more efficient? Can we make them less pollutant? Sure. But when it comes to immediacy of being able to turn a vehicle on, especially in times of emergencies where maybe the power grid's down, having internal combustion engines is important. I think that's why also the state of Illinois has carved out emergency vehicles from a measure that says all state vehicles by 2035 or something have to be zero emission. So interesting to hear that. I figured I'd just pass that along for you as well this morning with Bishop on Air. So greatly appreciate you guys being here each and every weekday morning. And be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, all right? Again, thanks for being here. You guys make the show what it is. Greatly appreciate it.